Jake Morrison walked through the long hallway of the Galactic Council building. His black shoes made soft sounds on the smooth floor. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that glowed with blue light. He had been to this place many times before, but today felt different. Today would change everything. Behind him walked Amy Rodriguez, a captain in the Human Space Navy. She wore her dark blue uniform with pride. Her hand rested on her belt, right next to where her weapon would be if humans were allowed to carry them here, but they were not. The Council did not trust humans with weapons in their sacred halls. Ben Taylor and Lisa Parker followed close behind. Ben was a young officer who had seen too much death in the outer colonies. Lisa was a doctor who had treated the wounded from the Zarian attacks. Both of them had lost friends in the war that the Council refused to acknowledge. The four humans reached the massive doors of the Council chamber. The doors were 30 feet tall and made of the same glowing crystal as the walls. Ancient symbols covered the surface, telling the story of the 12 species that ruled the galaxy. Humans were not part of that story. They were too new, too weak, too different. "Remember," Jake said quietly to his team, "we stay calm no matter what they say. We need their help." Amy nodded, but her jaw was tight. She had seen what the Zirians did to human colonies. Entire cities turned to glass. Children who would never grow up. Families destroyed forever. The Council had to help them. They had to... The doors opened with a deep humming sound. The chamber beyond was enormous. 12 platforms floated in the air, each one holding a different alien species. In the center was a small platform for visitors. That was where the humans would stand. Jake led his team to the center platform. As they walked, he felt the eyes of the alien council members watching them. Some looked bored, others looked annoyed. None looked friendly. The platform rose slowly into the air until it stopped in front of Counselor Vextara. She was from the serpentine species, with a long snake-like body covered in green scales. Her eyes were yellow and cold. She was known for hating humans. "Ambassador Morrison," she said, her voice like ice. "You have requested this emergency session. Speak." Jake cleared his throat. He had practiced this speech 100 times. "Honored counselors, humanity comes before you in our darkest hour. The Zarian Empire has attacked 12 of our outer colonies. They have killed over 2 million human civilians. They have glassed entire worlds. We need military assistance to stop them." Counselor Zephyrin laughed. He was from the Quarth species. "With 4 arms and skin like gray rock, military assistance? From the Council for humans?" He laughed again, and several other Council members joined him. "The human colonies are part of Council space," Amy said, stepping forward. "We have rights under the Galactic Treaty. We pay taxes, we follow your laws, we deserve protection." "Counselor." Morden spoke next. She was from the ethereal species, beings made of pure energy who lived in metal suits. "Rights must be earned, human. What has your species contributed to galactic civilization? What makes you worth saving?" Jake felt his anger rising but kept his voice steady. "We have been loyal members of this council for 50 years. We have never broken a treaty. We have sent aid to every disaster zone. We have shared our knowledge. Freely? Knowledge?" Vextara laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "What knowledge? Your primitive mathematics? Your simple machines? Your barbaric history of constant warfare?" "We have contributed to medical research," Lisa said, speaking for the first time. "Human doctors have saved millions of lives across the galaxy. And yet you cannot save your own." "People," said Counselor Kethmore from the insectoid species. His voice buzzed like 1,000 flies. "If you are so advanced, why do you need our help?" Ben stepped forward, his young face red with anger. "Because the Zirians have ships and weapons that we cannot match. They have conquered half the galaxy, while you sat here and did nothing." The council chamber fell silent. Ben had spoken the truth that everyone knew but no one wanted to hear. The Zirians were growing stronger every day. They had already absorbed 3 smaller species into their empire. Humans were just the latest target. "The Zirians are a minor threat," Zephyrin said finally. They will burn themselves out in time. There is no need for council intervention. Minor threat? Amy shouted. They have killed 2 million humans. They have destroyed 12 worlds. How is that minor? Because humans are replaceable, Vexthara said with cruel satisfaction. Your species breeds quickly. You will recover. The stronger species of the galaxy have more important concerns. Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. This was worse than he had feared. The council was not just refusing to help. They were saying that human lives did not matter. We are asking for ships, Jake said, making one last attempt. Just enough to defend our remaining colonies. We do not want to fight a war. We just want to protect our people. Counselor Rexthul from the crystalline species spoke for the first time. His voice rang like bells. The council has reviewed your military capabilities. You have no significant space fleet. Your weapons are primitive. Your soldiers are untrained. Even with our help, you would lose. Better to lose fighting than to die on our knees, Ben said quietly. Spoken like a true primitive, Morden replied. This is why humans will never be more than servants in galactic society. You think only of violence and death? Jake looked around the chamber at the alien faces staring down at him. Some looked amused, others looked disgusted. None looked sympathetic. These beings had the power to save millions of human lives, and they were choosing not to use it. So, this is your final answer? Jake asked. You will not help us? The human request for military aid is denied, Vexthara announced formally. Your species has contributed little to galactic civilization beyond primitive entertainment and basic labor. The Council sees no strategic value in preserving human colonies. Amy stepped forward again. What about the Galactic Charter? The promise to protect all member species? The Charter protects species that can contribute to galactic strength, Kethmer buzzed. Humans are a drain on resources. Perhaps it is time for natural selection to take its course. Jake felt the eyes of his team on him. He had promised them that the Council would help. He had believed that 50 years of loyalty and service would mean something. He had been wrong. I see, Jake said slowly. The Council has made its position clear. Humanity is expendable. Not expendable, Zephyrin said with false kindness. Simply ... less important than other priorities. Jake nodded. He exchanged a look with Amy, then with Ben and Lisa. They all understood. They were on their own. They had always been on their own. Very well, Jake said, his voice calm and steady. Humanity will handle this matter ourselves. The Council members laughed again. The sound echoed through the chamber like the cries of predators. They found the idea of humans defending themselves amusing. A primitive species with primitive weapons against the mighty Zarian Empire? It would be over in weeks. Good luck, little humans, Vexthara said with mock sympathy. Try not to die too quickly. The galaxy needs its entertainment. Jake led his team off the platform and toward the exit. As they walked, he could hear the Council members discussing other matters. The fate of humanity was already forgotten. They had more important things to worry about. The four humans walked through the crystal hallway in silence. Only when they reached their ship did Jake speak. Send a message to Admiral Sullivan, he said to Amy. Tell him the Council has refused to help. Tell him we are authorized to use any means necessary to protect human colonies. Amy smiled for the first time in days. Any means necessary? Any means necessary, Jake confirmed. It is time to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. The Council had made their choice. They had dismissed humanity as weak and worthless. They had no idea what they had just awakened. They were about to learn that underestimating humans was the most dangerous mistake anyone could make. Admiral Jack Sullivan stood in the command center of the UES Defiance, the largest ship in the human fleet. The message from Ambassador Morrison had arrived 3 hours ago. The Galactic Council had refused to help. They had called humanity weak and worthless. They had laughed at human suffering. Jack was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his days as a fighter pilot. He had served in the human military for 30 years. He had seen war before, but never like this. Never with so much at stake. "Sir," said Colonel Sarah Brooks, his second in command. "All department heads are here for the briefing." Jack nodded and turned to face the room. Around the large metal table sat the most important people in the human military. These were the men and women who had spent 50 years preparing for this moment. They had hoped it would never come, but they had always known it might. "The Council has made their decision," Jack began. "They will not help us fight the Xerians. They think we are too weak to matter. They think human lives are worthless." Dr. Kevin Wright, the head of human intelligence, leaned forward. He was a thin man with thick glasses who looked more like a teacher than a spy. "Admiral, we have been monitoring Council communications. They are already dividing up our colonies among themselves. They plan to let the Xerians destroy us, then move in to take what is left." 50 years, muttered General Patricia Hayes, commander of the Human Marines. She was a tough woman with short black hair and muscles that showed even through her uniform. 50 years of pretending to be weak sheep while they treated us like pets? Jack walked to the large window that looked out into space. Far below, he could see Earth spinning slowly in the darkness. Somewhere out there, human colonies were burning while the galaxy's rulers did nothing. "When we first met the other species," Jack said quietly, "we made a choice. We decided to show them what they wanted to see. A peaceful race that posed no threat. We hid our weapons, our ships, our true nature. We thought if we were good neighbors, they would accept us." "They accepted us as servants," Sarah said bitterly, "as entertainment, as something to laugh at." Dr. Wright stood up and activated a holographic display in the center of the room. Images appeared showing massive shipyards hidden throughout the solar system. Weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Soldiers trained for battles that most aliens could not imagine. "For 50 years we have been preparing," Wright said. "We studied every species in the Council. We learned their weaknesses, their fears, their military capabilities. We reverse-engineered their technology and made it better. We prepared for the day they would betray us." The hologram showed detailed files on every alien species. Their ship designs, their weapons, their tactics. Everything had been cataloged and analyzed. Human scientists had found ways to counter every advantage the aliens thought they had. "The Xerians believe they are fighting primitive humans with simple weapons," Wright continued. "They have no idea what we have really built." "No idea what we are really capable of." Jack turned back to the group. "Gentlemen, ladies, the time for hiding is over. Operation Redemption begins now." General Hayes smiled for the first time in weeks. "My Marines are ready, Admiral. We have been training for this since the day we joined the Council. Every soldier knows what it means to be human." "What about the other species?" asked Colonel Brooks. "When they see what we can really do, they will try to stop us." "Let them try," Jack said coldly. "They had their chance to do the right thing. They chose to abandon us. Now they will see what happens when you corner a species that conquered its own world before it ever left its home system." The room fell silent as everyone thought about what was coming. For 50 years, humanity had been careful to appear weak and peaceful. They had hidden their true military strength, their warrior spirit, their ability to fight against impossible odds and win, but the Xerians had made a mistake. They had attacked human civilians, they had killed children, they had destroyed entire worlds, and the Galactic Council had laughed about it. "Sir," said Captain Tony Martinez, the leader of the fighter pilots, "what are our rules of engagement? Do we show mercy to Xerian civilians?" Jack thought about the reports from the destroyed colonies. Cities turned to glass, families vaporized in an instant, children who would never grow up. The Xerians had shown no mercy to humans. "We are not them," Jack said finally. "We do not kill innocents. But any Xerian military forces are fair game. We hit them hard, we hit them fast, and we do not stop until they surrender or die." Dr. Wright brought up another hologram showing Xerian military positions throughout the galaxy. "Intelligence reports show they have divided their forces to attack multiple human colonies simultaneously. They think this will spread us too thin to respond effectively." "They are wrong," General Hayes said. Human forces have been pre-positioned throughout the galaxy for exactly this scenario. We can hit all their positions at once. Jack walked around the table, looking each person in the eyes. I want to be very clear about what we are doing. We are not just fighting the Xerians. We are sending a message to every species in the galaxy. We are showing them what happens when you underestimate humanity. What about the Council? Asked Sarah. They will demand explanations. They will try to stop us. The Council lost the right to demand anything when they refused to help, Jack replied. From now on, humanity handles its own problems. If the other species do not like it, they can try to stop us. But they should remember what happened to the last species that tried to wipe out humanity. The room was quiet again. Everyone knew the history. Humanity had not always been peaceful. They had fought wars that lasted decades. They had developed weapons that could destroy entire continents. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and disasters. That would have wiped out most species. But when they reached the stars, they had chosen to hide that part of themselves. They had pretended to be gentle farmers and artists. They had let the other species believe they were weak. The Xerians think. They are hunting sheep, Jack said. They are about to learn they are hunting wolves. Dr. Wright closed the holographic display. All human ships are ready, Admiral. All marine units are in position. All intelligence networks are active. We just need your order. Jack looked out the window again at Earth. Somewhere down there, families were mourning loved ones killed in the Xerian attacks. Children were asking why the aliens wanted to hurt them. Parents were wondering if their children would have a future. The Galactic Council thinks humans are weak because we try to solve problems with words instead of weapons, Jack said. They think we are cowards because we prefer peace to war. They think we are worthless because we care more about protecting life than taking it. He turned back to face the room. They are about to learn that the most dangerous humans are the ones who fight not because they love war, but because they love peace. We do not fight for glory or conquest. We fight because someone we love is in danger. Jack walked to his command chair and sat down. Around him, the bridge crew prepared for war. Officers who had spent years pretending to be weak were finally allowed to show their true strength. Send the signal to all human forces, Jack ordered. Operation Redemption is now active. Show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of. Throughout the solar system, hidden bases came alive with activity. Ships that had been disguised as cargo vessels revealed their true nature as warships. Weapons that could crack planets powered up for the first time. Soldiers who had trained in secret for decades prepared for battle. The Xerians had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked humanity while the galaxy watched and laughed. Now they would learn why humans had conquered their own world long before they ever reached for the stars. The age of hiding was over. The age of humanity had begun. Admiral Kexler stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Xerian destroyer Black Fang. He was a large creature with thick gray skin and 4 red eyes that glowed in the dim light. Around him, his crew prepared for another easy victory against the weak humans. Status report, he growled in his deep voice. Sir, we are approaching the human colony of New Austin, reported his second-in-command. Our sensors show only light defenses. A few small ships, nothing that can threaten us. Kexler smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Good, we will destroy their defenses, then glass the planet like all the others. The humans will learn that resistance is pointless. The Xerian fleet moved forward. 20 heavy cruisers and 50 smaller ships, all equipped with the latest weapons technology. It was more than enough to destroy any human force. Sir, called the sensor operator, I am detecting something strange. There are ships approaching, but they are not showing up clearly on our screens. Kexler frowned. Explain. It is like they are there, but also not there. Our sensors keep losing them. Before Kexler could respond, the first human fighter appeared on the main screen. It was sleek and black, moving faster than any ship the Xerians had ever seen. Behind it came dozens more, all appearing as if from nowhere. Lieutenant Commander Tony Martinez led the first wave of human fighters. His ship, the Razor, was equipped with the most advanced stealth technology humanity had ever developed. 2. Zarian sensors, it was almost invisible. All units, this is Razor 1, Tony said into his radio. Remember, we are not here to play fair. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and show no mercy. The human fighters moved like sharks through water. They did not fly in straight lines like most alien ships. Instead, they twisted and turned, using moves that would have killed pilots of other species. But humans had evolved on a world where survival meant adapting to any situation. Target their command ship first, Tony ordered. Take out their ability to coordinate. The human ships opened fire with weapons the Zarians had never seen before. Instead of energy beams, they used solid metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. The Zarian energy shields, designed to deflect laser weapons, were useless against simple chunks of metal moving at near light speed. The first Zarian cruiser exploded in a ball of fire and debris. Then another and another. What is happening? Kexler shouted. How are they penetrating our shields? I do not know, sir, his tactical officer replied. Their weapons are primitive, but they are somehow getting through our defenses. On the other side of the battle, Captain Rachel Stone commanded the human destroyer UE's Vengeance. Her ship was disguised as a simple cargo vessel, but hidden beneath its hull were weapons that could crack a moon in half. This is for New Geneva, she whispered, remembering the colony that had been destroyed 3 days earlier. She had friends there, good people who had never hurt anyone. The Vengeance opened fire with its main railgun. The weapon fired a solid tungsten rod the size of a telephone pole at a significant fraction of light speed. It hit the Zarian flagship directly in the center, punching through its armor like it was paper. Kexler felt his ship shake around him. Alarms were blaring everywhere. His crew was running around in panic, trying to understand what was happening. Damage. Report, he demanded. Sir, we have lost main power. Life support is failing. The humans somehow punched a hole right through our ship. Kexler could not believe what he was hearing. Human weapons were supposed to be primitive. Their ships were supposed to be weak. How were they destroying his fleet so easily? All ships. Retreat, he ordered. Fall back to the defense line. But when the Zarian ships tried to retreat, they found human vessels waiting for them. The humans had not just attacked from the front. They had surrounded the entire Zarian fleet. Commander Ben Taylor led a squadron of human bombers toward the Zarian supply ships. His team had practiced this exact scenario hundreds of times. They knew exactly where to hit to cause maximum damage. Remember, Ben said to his pilots, these are the same creatures that killed civilians on 12 human worlds. They showed no mercy to our people. We show none to them. The human bombers released their weapons. Instead of explosive warheads, they carried kinetic penetrators designed to punch through ship hulls and destroy everything inside. The Zarian supply ships exploded one by one, their fuel and ammunition adding to the destruction. Dr. Lisa Parker watched the battle from the medical bay of the UES Defiance. She was a doctor trained to save lives, but she felt no sympathy for the dying Zarians. She had seen what they did to human children. She had treated the few survivors of their attacks. Captain Martinez reports the enemy fleet is down to half. Strength, reported the communications officer. Good, Admiral Sullivan said from his command chair. Tell all units to press the attack. Do not let a single Zarian ship escape. The human fleet moved with precision that amazed even their own commanders. Every ship knew exactly where to be and when to be there. Every weapon fired at the perfect moment. It was like watching a deadly dance performed by masters of their craft. The Zarians tried to fight back, but their weapons could not lock onto the human ships. Human pilots flew in patterns that seemed impossible, turning and diving in ways that made no sense to alien minds. But humans had learned to fly by watching birds, creatures that had to dodge predators every day to survive. Sir, the Zarian tactical officer reported, we cannot get a clear shot. The human ships are moving too fast and too unpredictably. Kexler watched in horror as his fleet was destroyed around him. These were not the weak humans he had expected. These were warriors, fighting with skills and weapons that seemed to come from another universe. "Send a message to Zarian Command," he ordered. "Tell them the humans are not what we thought. Tell them we need reinforcements." "Sir, I cannot get a message through. The humans are jamming all our communications." The battle was nearly over. Of the 70 Zarian ships that had attacked the human colony, only a handful remained. The human fleet had not lost a single vessel. Tony Martinez flew his fighter toward the Zarian flagship. Through his cockpit window he could see the massive ship listing to one side, its hull cracked and broken. Inside, he knew alien creatures were dying in the cold vacuum of space. "Zarian flagship, this is the human fleet," he broadcast on an open channel. "You have 30 seconds to surrender or we will destroy you." Kexler looked around his damaged bridge. Half his crew was dead. The other half was wounded or in shock. His ship was dying and there was no hope of escape. I surrender," he said quietly into his radio. "What did you say?" Tony demanded. "I said I surrender," Kexler shouted. "We surrender. Please do not kill us." Tony felt a moment of satisfaction. The proud Zarian admiral, who had laughed about destroying human colonies, was now begging for mercy. "You will be taken prisoner," Tony said. "Your surviving crew will be treated according to the laws of war, something you never offered to human civilians." The remaining Zarian ships powered down their weapons and waited to be captured. The battle was over. The humans had won a complete victory, but the real message was just beginning to spread. Throughout the galaxy, other species were receiving reports of the battle. The weak humans had not only defeated a superior Zarian force, they had done it without losing a single ship. The Galactic Council, sitting in their crystal chambers, watched the battle recordings with growing fear. The humans they had dismissed as primitive had technology and tactics that seemed decades ahead of anything else in the galaxy. "How is this possible?" Counselor Vexthara whispered. None of them had an answer. They had made a terrible mistake, and now they were beginning to understand just how dangerous that mistake might be. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council began at dawn. Counselor Vexthara slithered into her position, her yellow eyes filled with anger and fear. Around the great chamber, the other council members took their places. None of them looked happy. "We are here because of the human situation," Vexthara announced. "Reports are coming in from across the galaxy. The humans have destroyed every Zarian fleet they have encountered. Complete victories, no human losses." Counselor Zephyrin waved his forearms in frustration. "This is impossible. Our intelligence showed primitive human technology, simple weapons, small ships. How did they destroy the Zarian Fourth Fleet?" "Maybe our intelligence was wrong," suggested Counselor Morden, her energy form flickering inside her metal suit. "Wrong?" Zephyrin shouted. "We have been watching the humans for 50 years. We know everything about them. They are farmers and artists, not warriors." Counselor Kethmer buzzed his agreement. "The humans showed us their ships. We inspected their weapons. Everything was primitive compared to our technology." As the council argued, reports continued to arrive. The Zarian 7th Fleet had been destroyed near the human colony of New Dallas. The Zarian 2nd Fleet had surrendered after losing 80% of their ships. Zarian Command itself was under attack by human forces that had appeared from nowhere. "Show us the battle recordings," Vexthara ordered. The main screen activated, showing footage from the battle at New Austin. The council members watched in silence as human fighters appeared from empty space, moving in ways that seemed to defy physics. They saw Zarian cruisers explode under the impact of simple metal projectiles. They watched as human ships surrounded and destroyed an entire Zarian fleet. "This cannot be real," Zephyrin whispered. "These recordings must be false." Before anyone could respond, the air in the center of the chamber began to shimmer. The council members watched in shock as a human figure materialized on the speaking platform. It was Admiral Sullivan, projected from his flagship somewhere in space. "Greetings, counselors," Sullivan said, his voice calm and steady. "I thought it was time we had a talk." Vexthara reared up, her serpentine body coiling in anger. "How dare you?" This chamber is sacred. No one enters without permission. Permission? Sullivan smiled coldly. Like the permission you gave the Xerians to destroy human colonies? Like the permission you gave them to kill our children? Behind Sullivan, other figures became visible. Colonel Brooks, General Hayes, Dr. Wright, and Captain Rodriguez all stood on the bridge of the human flagship. They looked calm, confident, and completely unafraid of the alien council. You lied to us? Counselor Mordun accused. You hid your true military capabilities. You deceived the entire galaxy, Dr. Wright stepped forward. We showed you exactly what you wanted to see. A peaceful species that posed no threat to your power. You never bothered to look deeper. But how? Kethmore buzzed frantically. We inspected. Your technology, we saw your ships, everything was primitive. You saw what we built for you to see, Wright replied. Simple ships with simple weapons, we never showed you our real fleet? The one we built in hidden shipyards throughout the solar system. The holographic display changed, showing images that made the council members gasp in shock. Massive construction facilities hidden inside asteroids. Weapons testing ranges in the outer planets. Ships that dwarfed anything in the council fleet. For 50 years we prepared, General Hayes said, her voice hard as steel. We studied every species in the council. We learned your weaknesses, your tactics, your technologies. We were ready for the day you would betray us. Betray you? Zephyrin protested. We simply chose not to intervene in a minor conflict. Minor? Sullivan stepped closer to the projection screen. 2 million dead humans is minor. 12 glassed worlds is minor. Children vaporized in their sleep is minor. The chamber fell silent. The council members had no answer for that. You want to know what we really are? Sullivan continued. We are the species that conquered its own world before it ever left its home system. We are the species that survived. Ice ages, plagues, and disasters that would have wiped out most civilizations. We are the species that learned to fight by fighting each other for 100,000 years. Dr. Wright activated another display. This one showed human history in detail. Wars that lasted decades, weapons that could destroy cities. Battles fought in conditions that would kill most alien species. While your species were developing agriculture, humans were perfecting the art of war, Wright explained. While you were learning to build cities, humans were learning to destroy them. While you were reaching for the stars, humans were already masters of conflict. But you seem so peaceful, Morden said weakly. You never showed aggression. You followed all our laws? Because we chose to, Sullivan replied. We could have conquered this galaxy the day we arrived. Instead, we decided to try a different way. We thought if we showed you we could be trusted, you would accept us as equals. Instead, you treated us like pets, Colonel Brooks added, amusing primitives who existed for your entertainment. The council members exchanged nervous glances. The humans standing before them looked nothing like the weak farmers they had dismissed. These were warriors, hardened by battle and burning with righteous anger. The Xerian Empire is finished, Sullivan announced. Their fleets are destroyed. Their military bases are captured. Their leadership is dead or in prison. They will never threaten anyone again. You destroyed an entire civilization, Vexthara whispered in horror. We destroyed their military, General Hayes corrected. Their civilians are unharmed. We do not kill innocents, unlike some species we could mention. What do you want from us? Kethmar asked, his voice shaking. What we wanted 50 years ago? Sullivan replied, respect, equal treatment. Recognition that human lives matter as much as any other species. And if we refuse? Zephyrin asked. Sullivan smiled, but it was not a kind smile. Then you will learn what the Xerians learned. That underestimating humanity is the most dangerous mistake anyone can make. The holographic display changed again, showing the current positions of human fleets throughout the galaxy. They were everywhere. Near every major trade route, every military base, every council world. Humanity had not just defeated the Xerians. They had positioned themselves to challenge the entire galactic order. We do not want to conquer the galaxy, Sullivan said. We never did. but we will no longer accept being treated as second-class citizens. The age of council domination is over. From now on, humanity will be an equal partner in galactic affairs, or we will handle our own affairs without council interference. Dr. Wright brought up detailed files on every council species. Military capabilities, economic weaknesses, political structures. The humans had been studying them all. "We know everything about you," Wright said quietly. "Every weakness, every fear, every secret you thought was hidden. We have been preparing for this conversation for 50 years. You cannot threaten the council," Vexthara said, trying to sound brave. "There are 12 species here." "You are only one. 12 species that have grown soft and weak while humanity grew strong," General Hayes replied. 12 species that have forgotten what real war looks like. "We offer you a choice," Sullivan said. "Work with us as equals or try to stop us and learn why the Xerians are no longer a threat to anyone." The council chamber was silent except for the sound of frightened breathing. The alien leaders who had ruled the galaxy for centuries were suddenly faced with a species they had completely misunderstood. "We need time to consider," Morden said finally. "You have 24 hours," Sullivan replied. "After that, humanity will make its own decisions about the future." The holographic projection faded, leaving the council members alone with their fear and the knowledge that everything had changed. The weak humans they had dismissed were gone, replaced by warriors who had just reminded the galaxy what true strength looked like. 6 months had passed since the Xerian War ended. The galaxy was a very different place now. Ambassador Jake Morrison walked through the same crystal hallway he had walked before, but this time everything felt different. The alien guards nodded respectfully as he passed. The council staff stepped aside to let him through. No one laughed anymore. Behind him walked Admiral Amy Rodriguez, now promoted after her service in the war. Captain Ben Taylor had become a major and wore medals on his chest for his bravery in battle. Dr. Lisa Parker carried a briefcase full of treaties that would reshape galactic civilization. The council chamber looked the same as before, but the atmosphere was completely changed. The 12 alien species still sat on their floating platforms, but they no longer looked down at the humans with contempt. Now they watched with careful respect and perhaps a little fear. "Ambassador Morrison," Counselor Vexthara said as the humans took their place on the center platform. Her voice was different now, polite, careful. "The council is ready to hear the human proposal," Jake smiled. It was the same smile he had worn 6 months ago, but now it carried weight. "Thank you, Counselor. The Terran Federation has prepared a new treaty for galactic governance." Dr. Parker opened her briefcase and activated a holographic display. The document that appeared was very different from the old council charter. This one treated all species as equals. It guaranteed protection for member worlds. It created fair trade agreements and shared defense responsibilities. "The key points are simple," Jake began. "Equal representation for all member species. No more decisions made by a select few. Shared resources and technology. Protection for all member worlds against aggression. And most importantly, recognition that every species has value." Counselor Zephyrin shifted nervously with his 4 arms. "These terms are quite different from our current agreements." "Yes," Amy said firmly. "The old agreements allowed the strong to abuse the weak. That system failed when you refused to help us against the Xerians." The council members exchanged glances. They all remembered what had happened to the Xerian Empire. Their fleets destroyed, their leaders captured, their military might reduced to nothing in a matter of weeks. They did not want to suffer the same fate. "What about enforcement?" asked Counselor Morden. "How do we ensure these agreements are followed?" Ben stepped forward. "The Terran Federation will establish peacekeeping fleets throughout the galaxy. Any species that breaks the treaty will face swift justice." "Human justice," Kethmer buzzed nervously. "Fair justice," Jake corrected. "The same justice we showed to Xerian civilians when we spared their lives. The same justice we offer to all species willing to live in peace." The truth was that humanity had become the galaxy's police force whether anyone liked it or not. Human ships patrolled the trade routes, protecting merchant vessels from pirates. Human marines stood guard at diplomatic meetings, ensuring fair negotiations. Human intelligence services watched for signs of aggression or treaty violations, but unlike the old council system, humanity used their power responsibly. They protected the weak instead of exploiting them. They shared their technology instead of hoarding it. They treated all species with respect, even former enemies. The Zarian survivors have been integrated into galactic society, Lisa reported. Their war criminals face trial, but their civilians receive aid and protection. Many have requested to settle in human space. This was perhaps the most shocking change of all. Species from across the galaxy were asking to live under human protection. They had seen how humans treated their own people, and they wanted the same security and fairness. The trade numbers are impressive, Jake continued. Galactic commerce has increased by 40% since the new security arrangements began. Piracy is down 90%. Border conflicts have virtually disappeared. Counselor Rexthul, who had been silent throughout the meeting, finally spoke. Why do you share your technology so freely? Most species guard their advantages. Amy smiled. Because we understand something you forgot. True strength comes from lifting others up, not keeping them down. When our neighbors are strong and prosperous, we all benefit. The human approach to technology sharing was revolutionary. Instead of keeping their advanced weapons and ships secret, they offered the technology to any species willing to use it for peace. The only requirement was that the recipient agree to help protect others. What about the Council's authority? Vexthara asked, what role do we play in this new order? The same role you always should have played, Jake replied. You guide and advise, you help resolve disputes. You coordinate joint efforts, but you no longer rule through fear or favoritism. The new system was working better than anyone had expected. Without the threat of council punishment hanging over them, smaller species were free to develop their own cultures and technologies. Trade agreements were negotiated fairly. Disputes were resolved through mediation instead of force, but everyone knew the real reason the system worked was humanity's strength. Every species understood that humans could destroy any fleet, conquer any world, defeat any enemy. But instead of using that power to dominate, they used it to protect. The Zephyrian Republic has requested human assistance with their border dispute, Ben reported. The Crystalline Confederation wants help establishing new trade routes. Even some former Zarian territories have asked for protection. This was the new reality. Species that had once looked down on humans now begged for their help. The same aliens who had called humans weak and primitive now sought human technology and protection. We accept these requests, Jake said, but under the new treaty terms. Equal partnership, shared responsibility, fair treatment for all. The meeting continued for several hours as the details of the new galactic order were discussed. Every species would contribute according to their abilities. Every species would be protected according to their needs. No one would be abandoned the way humanity had been abandoned. As the session ended, Jake reflected on how much had changed. 6 months ago, he had stood in this same chamber and been told that human lives did not matter. Today, human decisions shape the future of the entire galaxy. Do you think they have really learned? Amy asked quietly as they walked back through the crystal hallway. Some have, Jake replied. Others are just afraid. But fear can teach lessons that kindness cannot. The galaxy was indeed a safer place. Pirates thought twice before attacking merchant ships protected by human patrols. Aggressive species reconsidered their expansion plans when they remembered the fate of the Zirians. The Council, for the first time in its history, actually worked to protect all its members, but the most important change was in how species treated each other. The old system of the strong dominating the weak was broken. In its place was a new understanding that cooperation and respect made everyone stronger. Human colonies thrived as immigrants from across the galaxy came to experience human fairness and protection. Earth itself had become a pilgrimage site for beings who wanted to understand the species that had transformed galactic civilization. Children throughout the galaxy now learned the story of the Zarian War in their schools. They learned about the Council's betrayal and humanity's response. But most importantly, they learned the lesson that strength without mercy is tyranny, while mercy without strength is weakness. As Jake reached the human embassy, he looked up at the stars visible through the crystal dome. Somewhere out there, human ships patrolled the void, protecting species that had once mocked them. Somewhere out there, families lived in peace because humanity had chosen to be guardians instead of conquerors. The Galactic Council had forgotten humanity's strength, thinking it made them weak. They had learned too late that humanity's greatest strength was not their weapons or their ships, but their willingness to fight for what was right, no matter the cost. The galaxy had not just gained a powerful ally. They had learned what it truly meant to be strong. And in learning that lesson, they had all become stronger together. The age of fear was over. The age of hope had begun.